Well, here we are in the middle of November, but it already looks like Christmas in the greenhouse. Well, when you see poinsettias, you instantly think of Christmas, and a lot of research is done all year round here at OSU on poinsettias. And with me today to talk about that is Dr. John Dole, Associate Professor in Horticulture. And John, thanks for talking to us today and telling us about your research.
Oh, great, thank you. We use poinsettias for a lot of our research projects. We do research on water and mineral nutrition, and researchers, the number one crop in the United States is the poinsettia, and so we use it for a lot of our research projects. Today we have a cultivar trial. What we do is we get in cultivars from all the various companies that produce poinsettias, and we test them against each other to see which ones will do the best here in Oklahoma. And within the last few years, there's been a big explosion in the number of new poinsettia cultivars, and so the cultivar trial has grown fairly large.
Okay, well, what kinds of things are you looking for when you evaluate these cultivars?
We look for the color of the bracts, color of the foliage, whether or not they'll need growth retardants, and how tall they're going to grow. We look for how well they'll stand up in the consumer's home. We do a post-harvest test on each of the cultivars to see how long they'll last, to make sure that the customer has a good product when they bring it home. We look for how well they grow. Are they easy to grow? Are they difficult to grow? We look for how long it will take them to flower from the time we plant them until the time that they're ready to be sold.
Okay, so some of the things that you're looking for are consumer-oriented and some are grower-oriented, is that right?
Oh, exactly,
okay.
Right, yeah.
Well, they're not just red anymore. What kinds of poinsettias do we have to look at today?
Okay. Yes, there's reds, and then there's more reds. What we've got here are a couple of the basic reds. Poinsettias you can now find in two types. The dark green leaf varieties, like this one here, and then the lighter green leaf varieties like this one here. And we can see the foliage is darker in the first one here. That also translates into a darker bract color. Not surprising, the darker green leaf varieties have a darker red bract. It's a very deep red. Whereas the lighter green plants have a bright red bract, which is a lighter color than the darker leaved ones.
And that's probably just personal preference. I like the dark red ones better myself.
Yeah, I do too, but a lot of these ones can look very bright, so people like them for certain occasions too.
Oh, neat.
With beyond the reds, we start getting into a lot more variety. Here we have a pink and a white, the real classic colors here. Red is the major color that people buy. It makes up about 70 to 80% of the market, but these other colors are also pretty popular with some of the consumers. And we've got a pink here and a white. They're all different shades of pink, so look around to find the shade that you want.
Okay.
Within
oh, these are beautiful.
Within some of the other colors, we start getting the mixes, the bicolors we call them. This particular pattern is called marble pattern, and we have the one version here which is pink with a white edge, and there's a lot of pink on the bract. The other type here is the same pattern, a marble pattern, but the pink is lighter and there's a lot more white. Again, it's a matter of preference. This is one of my favorite color patterns here.
It's really pretty.
Now we get into some really different ones. Here's another pink bicolor. Since we are so early in the season, it's not fully developed, so we see a lot of green here yet. But we can see the pattern here starting to develop. It's a light pink cream with darker pink splotches, and it will get very dark by the end of the season. And that's called Monet.
Monet.
And that's called Monet. This plant here, we think we're back to the reds, but again, a different twist. This is called Silver Star. It has a regular bright red bract, but then it also has variegated foliage, white and green variegated foliage. And this is quite a new one. It's only been out for, I think this is the second year.
Okay.
One of the popular long-time bicolors is this Jingle Bells pattern. This has been out for a number of years. I think since the 70s, and it's still popular with some folks. It's the red with the lighter pink and sometimes the white splotches. This pattern is a bit unstable, so you shouldn't be surprised if you find some of the bracts have turned half to pink or half to white.
Okay.
This is very common with this variety. The color pattern is very unstable, so you can find all sorts of interesting Jingle Bells poinsettias in the store.
So, well, in addition to looking at the different cultivars, what else can you look at in poinsettias?
Okay, well, the sizes I've been showing you have all been in a 6-inch pot with one plant that has been pinched to give a variety or a number of bract clusters, or of flowers. Okay, that's the standard poinsettia. Most of the market is that type of poinsettia. But for something different, you can get the very small ones, such as this one in this Freedom poinsettia in this 4-inch pot. For the office or for just an area where you don't want a big one.
Right.
Okay.
I like this size. This is good for an apartment dweller or something like that.
That's right. They're pretty cute. They're pretty cute. Now on the other end, we start getting into some of the bigger sizes, and we have got this Freedom poinsettia as well, and it is in a bigger pot. It's also grown a little bit different. I want to talk just a bit about that. The plants I have been showing you have all been pinched, where we put a plant in the pot, let it grow up, and then we pinch it. And that gives us a number of branches. This style of poinsettia is what's called a straight up, meaning that the plant is planted in the pot and is not pinched. What you get are these huge bract clusters. And we've got 3 plants in this pot, so we have 3 bract clusters, and it makes a spectacular plant, but it doesn't have all the little bract clusters. This is one of my favorites. I love straight up poinsettias, and they can be just spectacular, but a little bit different style again. Another one of the straight up types here is this pink one. Okay. Now you can get all different pot sizes with all these different variations of either pinched or straight up. Then you can get to something a lot different, and that's the standard or the tree poinsettia. This one, again, we're fairly early in the season, so it's not fully developed yet, so there's a lot of green showing. But it has a stem, like a little mini palm tree, and then this ball of foliage and bracts, and these can be spectacular when they finish.
Now, does it take longer to grow a standard poinsettia than one in a pot like this?
It sure does, because you've got to grow that stem up there, and so it'll take a couple months to maybe 3 or 4 more months to grow. That's why, because of the extra time, obviously they're going to cost more because of all the effort put into it.
Right.
The growers also have to remove all the leaves and the branches down below, and then after it reaches the size they want, they go ahead and pinch it off to develop the crown or the ball of foliage and flowers at the top.
So these take just a little bit more attention than the other ones.
Yes. But if you really like poinsettias and you want something different, or you've got a special occasion, they can be very spectacular.
Right.
You can even get the very large size trees, where you've got quite a bit of stem. They look great in living rooms, entryways. Many times banks and malls and things will get some of these tree poinsettias because they are so spectacular, and the bigger size lends it to bigger rooms and things like that.
They really are spectacular. There's one other form that you can buy these in?
Yes, yes. Again, it takes a little bit more work. These are the hanging basket poinsettias, and again, we're early in the season, so we see a lot of green here yet. But hanging baskets take a lot of cuttings to fill it up, and they do take a longer time to grow. So again, they're going to be a little more expensive. But they can either work as a hanging basket and can be hung, or what a lot of people will do is they'll take the hanger off and they'll just set it in the middle of the table, and it makes an incredible display right in the middle of a table, coffee table, whatever.
Now this will actually, when it's fully done, it will be a massive red.
Pretty
Just
much.
like a red ball.
Yeah,
So
yeah. The red will pretty much cover the whole plant.
it's really showy. So, well, a lot of people may have seen a poinsettia here that they like, and part of your research, this is really neat, is consumer oriented again. And so how are you going about getting consumer ideas on this?
We're going to be having a display at TLC Garden Center in Oklahoma City. It's going to be at their main store in Edmond. They've been very gracious to accommodate us. They will have a display set up, and we will be bringing down the cultivars, and we'll have each of the cultivars labeled with the name. We'll also have the breeder, the company that produced the poinsettia, and we're going to have surveys available so that the public can look at all the cultivars, decide which type they like the best, and then they can mark the survey. Then we're going to collect the survey and record, to figure out which ones were the most favorite for the people here in Oklahoma.
Okay, so if you're in the city the first week of December and you want to vote on your favorite cultivar, stop by TLC. Well, now I want to kind of switch gears here a little bit and say, okay, we've picked out the type of poinsettia we want to grow. Well, first of all, how do we pick out a good one, and then how do we get it home?
All right.
So,
well, we're going to pull back
here.
one of the plants we had looked at earlier. That's right. Thank you, Brenda.
Big one here?
Yeah. You can tell it's one of my favorites. I like to go back to it. One of the first things we want to look for is the overall color. This plant is fairly well developed, and we see a lot of red. So one of the first things to look for is a lot of good bright color. There should be some green in there, and we're going to want to look at the foliage to make sure that the foliage is nice, doesn't have marks or yellow edges or brown edges on it, but that it's a nice, the foliage and the bracts are in good condition. Beyond that, we're going to want to look at the size. Some of the poinsettias are very tall, some tend to be very short, so we want to think about how tall of a plant we want. And we can look around on the bench to find the one that fits the size that we want. One of the keys to look for is going to be the flowers in the middle of the plant. We're going to want to see some of the stamens here producing a little bit of pollen in the middle. Okay. Just 1, 2, or 3 flowers. This shows that the poinsettia has flowered and that the bracts have filled out and probably won't be getting that much bigger. There probably won't be that much more red on it. It lets us know that the plant is ready to go into the home. If we happen to get a plant that isn't flowered, like some of the ones we were looking at earlier where there was a lot of green on them, when we bring them into the home, they don't get all the color that a plant that's been ripened, so to speak, in the greenhouse, or that has reached peak in the greenhouse. So we want to look for the flowering in the middle. On the other hand, when it gets later in the season, we want to be sure that all the flowers haven't fallen off. If the plant is done blooming and is starting to kind of finish its blooming cycle. So we want to look for some buds, a good number of buds in the center, and then 1, 2, or 3 of them showing pollen.
And just a quick recap, the flowers actually are the small buds here in the middle and not this bracts that you see here.
That's right, thank you. I always sort of skip over that. The flowers, are the little tiny jobs in the middle there. And then we have the showy part is the bract, which is different than petals. They are just simply colored leaves, the same structure we can see as the leaves. Okay. Yeah, thanks.
So, well, then you've got it picked out at the store. How do you get it home without killing it?
Oh, yes. It really depends. One of the first things to consider is the day that you're bringing it home on. If it's nice and warm outside, then you don't have to worry too much. And Oklahoma has warm days all year. If it's cold, if it's 40, 45 and below, then you'll need to take a little bit more care. First thing is the store is probably going to sleeve it up for you. And then they're going to put a nice sleeve on it that'll protect it. Or wrap it up somehow. Or put it in a box, so some sort of protection. Then you're going to want to get that into your car. And if it's very cold, say in the 30s, you might want to warm the car up first, then put the plant in the car. Whatever you do, don't get the poinsettia and then go shopping the rest of the day and leave your car in the mall and leave your poinsettia in the car when it's real cold, because it doesn't like the cold. Around below 40, 45 is really where we start getting problems. The poinsettia is essentially a tropical plant. It's from Mexico and northern Guatemala, and so it doesn't like the cold. What will happen is if it gets too cold is when you bring it in, it'll lose a lot of the lower foliage. Okay. And so you'll end up with this interesting plant with the red bracts and no leaves, which isn't quite what we want.
Yeah. Well, after we get it home, and do we want to set this up on our TV and make a nice show?
Yeah, well, no. What you're alluding to, the problem with the TV and some of the other appliances like the VCR, is that when you turn them on, they create heat. and this heat will make the poinsettias not last as long. And again, what you'll see is it'll drop the foliage, which will leave these sticks with the bracts on top. So what you want to do is give it a bright place, preferably by a window, but yet not touching the window, because we do get some cold weather in December and even January, because they will last a long time. And the bracts might freeze if they're right up against the window. So we want a nice, bright location, cool, that's down into the 60s. Within a regular house, if you have big sliding glass doors and you put the plant next to those, that'll be a little bit cooler than in the middle of the room next to the TV set. Not fireplace mantles, not next to the fireplace if you use it. Anything that's going to be really hot will cause the plant not to last as long.
Okay.
The other thing you're going to want to be sure to do is to check it and water it. And the simple method is to stick your finger in the pot in the soil, and if it's dry down to about ½ inch, then go ahead and water it and give it a good thorough watering. Two of the common problems are either overwatering or underwatering, so you want to check them every few days.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving us all these tips on how to keep our poinsettias alive once we get them home. Well, as you can see, there are so many different colors and shapes and sizes of poinsettias to choose from that you should be able to find one that's just right for you.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. You can also find more recent videos on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.